Well, Sheryl, first of all, thank you for being my debutante. Dog.
Wow.
Sheryl and I.
Just wear white dress. Martha, what do you wear to a debutante? White dress.
Sheryl and I have known each other for 20 years.
You're making me look old.
I'm sorry, she was 5 at the time. And we were both in Washington. And in Washington, you learned, that was a fairly long introduction that Jed gave me and a fairly short one for Sheryl. But in Washington, you learn that introductions are inversely proportional to power. You know, when the president gets introduced, it's just the president. And you have sort of achieved one name status. You're now Sheryl. We don't even have to do the, but thank you very much for being here. It's great to have you. And I know a lot of people here deal with Facebook in different ways, but I'd really like you to start to talk a little bit about where Facebook is headed. I mean, 1.3 billion users, that's a big number. Do you think of it as a mature company, or do you feel like you're just getting warmed up?
Anyone who's ever been to Facebook will know that we're not a mature company. I see a lot of people nodding.
20 years is the average age of your employee, I think.
Yeah, I know I'm reminded how old I am all the time at Facebook. People literally walk up to me and say, so you went to college before the internet? Like, what was that like? I'm like, okay, there were no horses and buggies. It wasn't that bad. But it's interesting. So we just hit 10 years. And 10 years in the life of so many amazing companies are here is not very long. 10 years for us actually feels not very long. And the world's changed just incredibly on us. And the real question for us is, how do we scale and grow from here? We're actually small for what we do. So we have over 1.3 billion users globally, and we have less than 8,000 employees. And so I think in many ways we're still playing catch up, and we're at a subscale internally, trying to serve what we think is a scale, but the growth continues, and it's up to us to try to grow and achieve some of the things so many of the amazing people in this room have achieved, which are, P&G and Bank of America and, lasting brands and companies. We're not there yet, and we have a lot to learn to get there.
You're doing it in a world that is changing very, very rapidly. Yes. How do you keep up with the pace of change?
I mean, the biggest change definitely for us was the shift to mobile, because we were started just 10 years ago as a desktop company. And as Mark has said, had we been started just a few years later, we would have been started as a mobile company. And the shift to mobile is the fastest adoption of a communication technology we've ever seen. The word online is about to be something only your parents say, because you'll be all only available. I saw data that said that 79% of Americans will only put down their cell phones for 2 hours a day. And I saw Ariana Huffington say,
wait.
2 hours
What does that mean? For the rest of the day, you have your cell phone
yes,
in your hand?
in your hand, using it. And Ariana Huffington.
When you sleep, maybe you put it down?
I'm not sure about
plug
sleeping.
It in
I'm assuming it's down for sleeping. But she said that 20% of Americans are using their cell phones during sex. I'm not saying it's true. But I'm just saying.
My previous job before this one was a social science research center, the Pew Research Center. We did not research that particular issue. I'm not sure where Ariana's getting
getting her data. But no matter how you look at it, an enormous percentage of us have our cell phones on all the time. And for Facebook, that was a really dramatic shift, because we were built as a desktop company. And you go back 2.5 years ago, at the period we were trying to go public. Some of our investors are here tonight, and they may remember this. I mean, I'm sure that dip has long gone from your memory. But the shift was happening, and was happening faster than we ever thought. And it's continuing to happen faster than we ever thought.
It's not slowing down at all.
It's not slowing down. So last year was the first year the lines crossed, and the average American watched 4.5 hours of TV a day and spent 5.25 hours on digital, largely driven by mobile, and it's almost 6 hours today. And so it's massively accelerating. And with that comes some really big changes.
Such as?
Such as personalization. The thing about your mobile phone is it delivers a personal experience. Yours is different from mine, is different from Wenda's, is different from Lisa's. It's different. And for us, again, we had to rebuild our products, but I think it has been a good transition once we got there through Facebook. We get 1 in 7 minutes on the desktop. We now get over 1 in 5 minutes on a mobile phone. But we had to think about our products differently. And I think a lot of people in this room, we're all having to rethink how we reach our consumers, how we interact with our consumers, because of the changes in what they're doing.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because that handheld experience is a very personal experience. A lot of it is text messaging friends. Even on Facebook, a lot of it is connecting with friends. How do advertisers, you must do lots of research on this, how do the advertisers in this room fit into that very personal, intimate environment?
Well, the first thing is, I think, recognizing that the change is happening. One thing I find really interesting is that the people who adapt the fastest are often the people furthest behind. So the people that will make the jump to do big adoption of a new technology, realize consumers, they're not usually number one. There are exceptions. There are exceptions. P&G, for example, has always been number one in most of its markets, and they were an early and big Facebook partner, and they still are. But in a lot of cases and for a lot of industries, it's the others coming up behind, and it's harder the better you're doing to adapt. The way we think about the opportunity, and it's great to be able to talk about it at Adweek, is that this is personalized marketing at scale. So my great-grandfather lived in New York, and he ran a paint store, and he marketed in a personal way. You know, his friend Joe would walk by the store, and he would walk out and be like, "Your door's chipping. You need the brown paint. I have it for you." But he knew his customers, and he knew what they needed, and that was marketing. And then mass media happened, and a lot of us are part of that, and everything went big and global and mass. And what the mobile phone allows you is to do both. We have a Super Bowl every day on Facebook, and you can do a mass media. You can do an ad as big as a Super Bowl ad and reach that many people every day. And if you want, you can also make it personal. And there's a great recent example from Coca-Cola. I don't know if people saw the America the Beautiful ad they ran during the Super Bowl. Really beautiful, singing America the Beautiful with obviously different ethnicities and backgrounds represented, showing the melting pot of America. Different languages, different people. So that ran on the Super Bowl. At the same time, during the Super Bowl, and Carolyn Everson is here, she runs our global partnership teams, and this was her work with them right there. Very proud of her. They took that ad and they put it into smaller chunks, and they used our ability to target so that if you were from a certain nationality, you would see that piece on Facebook at the same time. And that's a perfect example of something that's mass, but something that's personal, that really can do what our phones are now capable of doing, which is emotional ties to brands.
And where is the line between what pleases the users and what annoys the users? I mean, I remember, and this was only a couple of years ago, Martin Sorrell saying he didn't think social media would be a great platform for advertising because it's like the letter you get from your grandmother. You know, it's not. Don't put an advertisement in my note from my grandmother.
And Martin has not said that in a while, and they are now one of our largest partners. So I'm going to speak for Martin that he does no longer believes that, and then I'm going to email him tonight to make sure.
Don't tell him I said that. Yeah.
But what is annoying is something that's not relevant to you, and what is welcome is something that's relevant to you, as long as you believe it's done in a privacy-protected way.
The mass market is not a good way to get people on their cell phones then?
No, it depends if it's relevant. So the America the Beautiful commercial, if people saw it on the Super Bowl, I don't know anyone who didn't love that ad. It was beautiful, and it spoke to everyone. So there are opportunities when you have something good to go mass market. When you're going specific, you want it to be relevant. It's interesting, the number one thing we hear from people on Facebook, the number one thing by far, when we ask about ads, is why aren't they more relevant? And this goes right to the heart.
Not why are they there?
Not why are they there, not are you selling my data, even though people are concerned about privacy, but the number one thing by far we hear is why are they not relevant? And it makes sense. Think about your Facebook news feed, and I'm assuming everyone here is a Facebook user.
Of course.
If you're not, join us. 1.3 billion people can't be wrong. No, stay and join us. But if you look at your news feed, you've got friends who post stuff that you like, and you've got friends who post stuff that you don't. And there's things that are relevant to you and things that are not. And when you see an advertisement on Facebook that you enjoy, that you like, that's relevant, it's a great experience. And when you see an ad on Facebook or any other site that's not, it's bad. And some of the big Atlas announcements we had this week is about bringing relevancy to ads on Facebook and around the web.
And I want to talk about that in just a minute. But how about frequency? Are we at the limits of tolerance of the frequency of ads in your Facebook feed?
We monitor sentiment with ads really carefully, and we run control groups and holdout groups that do see ads and don't see ads, so we can understand if people, and we're very careful. As we put ads into newsfeed, because even 2 years ago we had none, which was our mobile ads challenge, right? Platform shifting to mobile, we have exactly no revenue on mobile as we're going public. Not a great place to be. But as we put ads into newsfeed, we've just monitored consumer sentiment very, very carefully, and we're really pleased with what we see. And again, it's relevance. If it's a delightful experience because it's something you want to see, it's good. If it is a bad experience, it's bad.
Now, there's been a lot of publicity in the last week or two about this new site, Ello, which apparently has hockey stick growth but very small numbers. But part of the appeal is no ads.
You know, I haven't seen the site, and ever since I've been at Facebook, I see things all the time which are like, my mom's getting on Facebook, I'm getting off. Saturday Night Live did that skit many years ago, and moms got on, people didn't get off. I think what really matters is that people get the best product, and they get that by a company being very focused. And just as I talk to our partners, if they're number one, pretend you're number four, we have to do that. People will continue to use Facebook if they understand that their data, we don't tell who they are to anyone, if they understand that they have control over what they share, and if we build a great product that continues to connect. And I think what we're really focused on is all of those things, particularly the product. What we worry about getting bigger is that we won't innovate, and so we stay very focused on continuing to ship products.
We have so much to talk about and so little time, but let's talk about this announcement this week, the Atlas advertising platform. That's for the folks in this room, that's potentially very big news. Basically, Facebook is saying, we're going to take on Google DoubleClick, and we'll do it better than they'll do it, and we'll do it on mobile. Am I reading between the lines correctly?
If you look at how ads are served and measured, and a lot of people here are marketers and have this issue, the systems we used to do them aren't working anymore. Because they're cookie-based, they don't work on mobile. They don't work offline to online, and they don't really understand that people have multiple devices. They worked really well when everyone had a desktop computer and nothing else. But I venture to say everyone in this room has a mobile phone, an iPad, or some version of a tablet, and a computer, right? And so the old systems don't work. And so what Atlas is, and we're excited about the launch this week, is it enables ad serving and measurement so that it's real people and real results. It enables marketers to be more effective and actually reach their target. We think 40%, close to 40% of the targeting that is just age and gender, which is the most basic targeting anyone does online, is not getting to the right people right now. It's already wrong.
And this will have it right because it's taking the data from Facebook profiles.
Yes, and I want to be clear though.
Yes.
We are using the Facebook data to help improve the targeting. Neither Atlas nor Facebook tells anyone who you are. And this is what's really important.
But are you sure people aren't going to react negatively to the notion that you know exactly my age when you serve me an ad?
Well, here's what happens is that if you get an ad, so if I'm in my newsfeed and I get an ad for a movie, I have a great husband, you know him, great guy. We have no overlapping taste in movies whatsoever, just none. There's not a single movie he's liked that I've liked. So if I'm in my newsfeed and I see an ad for a movie he wants to see, I just don't like chick flicks, and he does. Sorry. I'm just saying there's no overlap. And so if I see a trailer for a movie he likes, that's a terrible experience for me. And if he sees a trailer for a movie I like, if I see something that's, oh my God, I love that, if I believe it's done without telling who I am to any marketer, that's a great experience. If I believe it's done by selling my data, that's a bad experience. And so we have to be very clear that it's the first, not the second. And new technologies take time to understand. But we are very clear that neither Atlas nor Facebook tells anyone who you are.
But this is a very big deal. I mean, Google has what, 30% of the online advertising? Online's the wrong word, I know, but we'll come up with a new one at some point.
No,
advertising
online's
market.
Fine.
And Facebook has 5 or 6%. Is that a battle you can win?
I think as people transition
That was a
from
yes or no
offline to
kind of
online,
question.
well, I think the answer is we can both win.
Okay.
Because I think people are moving online and moving digital. And if you look at it right now, mobile is 25% on average of US consumer time, and it's 10% of the budget. And as things move global, as things move from offline to online, I think Google will do very well. I think we can do very well. And I think, you know, companies that were putting out magazines can do very well by serving their content online and mobilely and advertising against it. We're all going to have to adapt.
Yep.
But I think there's room for this pie to grow, particularly as it gets more relevant.
Video is
It's gonna be huge.
dominating Facebook.
Yeah.
How fast is that happening?
So every single person in this room, each of us, we have a phone that has 100,000 times the computing power of the computer that sent the man to the moon, which is only 1969, which is not that long ago because that's the year I was born. But that's pretty amazing. And if you think even 2 years ago, if we were doing this dinner, we would not have had a phone that loads video as quickly as it does today, and you couldn't watch a video on Facebook for that reason. But all of us have a phone today that does that. And so yes, video is exploding. We are now over 1 billion videos per day. Now for marketers, that's an incredible opportunity because creative was always king for marketers. The TV ad, sight, sound, and motion creates an emotional attachment. We all know how important that is. But when things went digital, I think a lot of people worried that creative didn't matter as much. And to be honest, in a text-based ad, in a display ad, maybe it's important, but not as important. The advent of video, not just on Facebook, but also YouTube, gives that opportunity for great creative. And so you look at someone like Wendell Millard, who's been doing this for a long time and helping marketers express themselves. This is an opportunity to take what we've always done so well and bring it to people mobilely.
Let me turn the conversation for a moment to the Lean In Foundation, which you started, you fund yourself. I'm not quite sure how you do all you do at this huge company that, as you pointed out, is understaffed, only 8,000 people. But what are you trying to do with that?
Get more women into this room and every room like it. And I want to say, actually, there are a lot of women here, so congratulations to you, because this is actually a lot of representation. And great leaders like Anne Foucault, right? I mean, you've got great people here, but if you go to most dinners in New York that are most business dinners, or in San Francisco, in your industry and mine, anything we do, most of the women in this room are usually the only women in the room. I'm gonna ask everyone a question. Men only, please. Men only. Please raise your hand if anyone's ever told you you're too aggressive at work. There's usually one. Thank you. Women, please raise your hand if anyone's ever told you you're too aggressive at work. That's what I want to change. That's what all of us want to change. That's what so many women here, because until we start applauding leadership in women the way we applaud it in men, we can't change it. I tell everyone, next time you see a little girl and she's called bossy, you walk up to her and you say, that little girl's not bossy. That little girl has executive leadership skills.
Is that working?
Wait. Actually, I want to pause. I just want to pause. Because I've never had an audience not laugh at that. Now I want to say this. Ready? That little boy has executive leadership skills. There's no humor. Now, this is an important point. There's no humor, and that's because we expect leadership in boys and don't in girls. And what that means is that women have a harder time. And we have to understand that that bias exists in all of us, in men and women, in me. I systematically do this to women. And so what Lean In is doing is trying to bring women together. We help women or men start Lean In circles, 10 people who meet once a month. We were hoping for 1,000. There are over 20,000 in 73 countries.
Wow, very impressive. Now, Sheryl, this is the perfect opportunity for you to promote the Fortune Most Powerful Women Conference.
Well, I will say, and this is important, that the Fortune Most Powerful Women Conference, which I met so many of the great women I know here, I met Martha there for the first time, was a big part of my path, because until I was invited to that conference, I never spoke out as a woman, and it never occurred to me that there weren't enough women until I went to that conference, and it just felt so different. And that was the first time I noticed. And I give Patty credit for that, I give Fortune credit for that, and I'd like Lean In to not be necessary, and I'd like that conference to not be necessary one day, and I know we all share that.
I'm going to take a few questions from the group, but before I do that, just one question, which is, how do you do it? I mean, you've got young kids, you've got this huge job at Facebook, you're running a foundation. I know you're actively involved in the foundation. How do you possibly, and you have the book and the book promotion, how do you possibly make it all work?
I hire amazing people. David Fisher is here with me tonight. David Fisher first met Alan when we've been at Treasury together, we've been at Google together, we've been at Facebook together. I already introduced Carolyn Everson. Marnie Levine runs global policy. She's here tonight, and they're amazing. And my foundation team is small, and they're amazing. And one more, Elizabeth Diana is here. She runs communications for ads, so she's had a really big week. Hire great people, and you can do a lot.
Okay, very knowledgeable audience. Ask Sheryl the tough questions. Let's see who has a question about where Facebook is headed. I can't see very well.
Yeah, we can't see at all.
Hi, I've got a mic.
Okay, good, thanks.
Sheryl, hi. Greg Grimmer from Fetch. We're a mobile agency. We're a mobile-first agency. And I remember meeting you in Palo Alto when you didn't have ad revenue in mobile. And it was a question that I think Boz said, we'll fix that. Yeah, and you certainly have. So my question is on Instagram, which has obviously launched with advertising this week in the UK. And I think it's going to be in the US pretty soon as well. And I was interested in the relevancy of Instagram. Have you seen any of the commercial partners work on Instagram, and do you think it's relevant to the Instagram audience?
It's going really well. We're taking it slowly. We launched ads in the US a while ago, and we just launched in the UK, and you're right, we're slowly going to other countries. Instagram has over 200 million people using it, and they're very active. And to Alan's point, the ads, and to the point Martin Sorrell made years ago, which he was right about, the ads have to fit in. And so we're going slowly, but we're getting great results. One of my favorite, I'm a big Chobani Greek yogurt eater, and one of the issues they have is people think yogurt's only for breakfast, and they need to expand their market. So Instagram was a great partner because they just took pictures of people eating yogurt at clearly different times of the day or for other functions. And again, pictures, images are so powerful, and for brands that do it well, and we're seeing a lot of brands do it well, from GE to Levi's to many others, they're taking advantage. Barbie, they're taking advantage of the Instagram platform, and we are ramping slowly to make sure that those ads are really delightful. So far, so good. So help us create some really delightful ads, and we will be thrilled to run them.
Other questions?
Hi, Alan Bloom from CBS Altitude Group. I hear this tension that you kind of create between this global behemoth communications company and the personalization of the phone. And I'm wondering if what you're saying is that there isn't a lot, that this kind of global network is really a lot of very, many personal devices come together on these very personal ways, and it's not, global is really nothing more than the addition of a lot of intimate networks. Is that what you're saying, or am I hearing it wrong?
No, I think the Facebook experience shows that you can take a global platform and it can be truly personal, and that as people join it, it gets better and more personal. So when I joined Facebook, which was about 6.5 years ago, there were about 70 million users, and 50% of people came back every day. And I, was supposed to have a sense of where we were going, so I ran around telling everyone, please stop saying 50% of people come back every day. Because, your early adopters are often your most active users. And so I figured as we grew,
That would go down.
that would go down. But Facebook is really a very flat, non-hierarchical organization, and people could not care less that they reported to me. And they just kept running around saying 50% come back every day. And we now passed 1.3 billion people, and 63% come back every day.
Yeah.
And that's because your point is right, that it is global and personal. As more people came on, more people posted to my newsfeed. I had more friends. There were more brands doing great things. There were more journalists posting great things. We are driving almost a quarter of news referrals now. That's news people want to see. And for all the journalists here, we really encourage you to be posting a lot to Facebook because we want to drive traffic to you. So it is that global platform which enables people to have the personal experience. So if you want to read things in Fortune, if you want to read things in Time, if you want to see what Martha Stewart's doing, you can do that.
Sure, let me ask you quickly, just listening to you talk, classic business school question, who is your most dangerous competitor? Who is Facebook's most dangerous competitor?
Whenever companies are asked the biggest risk, they always name another company. I think the biggest risk to Facebook is us. Me, Mark, all the amazing people I introduced. Most companies actually mess it up all on their own because they don't execute well. And Mark and I really try to remember that. Like, if anyone messes us up, it's actually probably going to be us. We'll go too fast, too slow. We'll miss something like the mobile transition we almost missed, right? And so we are our own biggest risk. And in terms of our biggest competitor, you know, the Silicon Valley answer is always the person in the garage who you haven't met yet, who's building something new. And I think that's why, as we are building our current business, we invest in the future. So Oculus. We bought a company called Oculus. It's producing a virtual reality product. I should have brought the headset with me because I brought a demo. It's amazing. Some people are like, why are you doing this? And some people said, wow, they're investing for 10 years out. And that's what we're trying to do. Doesn't mean we'll get it right. Doesn't mean we don't have a lot to learn and a lot of mistakes ahead of us, but we're just trying not to make the same mistakes again.
One last question.
Hi,
Someone in the back there, yes.
Hi, I'm Christy Farrow, Vidicom and CityBuzz. Cheryl, you mentioned 1 billion videos, but what kind of videos, and are they really being viewed?
It's people dumping buckets
Yeah.
of ice water on their head. is
So,
what-
Christy, I'll start by thanking you to your service to New York and for all of us, because I think you've done some amazing things. So, yeah, people are viewing them. So these are being uploaded by people. It's some ads, but it's largely consumer. And the viewing experience is so easy. So if you go into Facebook and you're in your newsfeed and you scroll and you stop, the video plays. If you hit it again, there's sound. That's because we're taking care of everyone who's doing this in meetings. We've got your back. But yeah, they're being viewed. And what's happening, and actually the ALS video was very important for Facebook because that's how my mom figured out that she could load a video to Facebook, right? She didn't know that until someone challenged her to pour ice water over her head, and she didn't actually do it, but she did learn about the video. But so yes, and what is interesting is, again, we are about self-expression. We are about real people. We are about real identity. We are about the opportunity for people to share what matters to them. And you see it in ALS, and you see it in other things. One of my favorite things that's happened on Facebook in the last couple months is a page called The Stealthy Freedoms of Iranian Women. And it's a page that was put up by a woman in Iran. It got to 150,000 people in a week, and now it's over 650,000. And it's women taking pictures of themselves without their headscarves in public, which is a punishable offense. And my favorite one is a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. And it says, the grandmother says, I wanted my granddaughter to feel the wind on her hair before it turns gray.
Wow.
And if you ask how we can grow, if you ask what we can do, I think that's what we can do. And it won't just be Facebook. It'll be all the people in this room finding ways to speak directly to people who care about what they're doing, who care about what they're writing, the great articles you all write, who care about the great products so many of you build, so that we can communicate as people. And I'd like to think that in a world that, you know, there's a lot going on and some negative things going on, that all of us, not just Facebook, that what is personal and social and mobile brings us all a little bit closer and maybe lets a granddaughter feel the wind on her hair a little bit more.
Sheryl, thank you. Thank you very much.